I was one of those children that was exceptionally gifted. I could do many things. I could draw, I could sing, I could design, I know book. That's how to put it. And I could act. So I would be cast in all kinds of drama productions. I knew from when I was very little that in every drama there was the hero and there were the villains. Welcome, my dear friend, to today's edition of The Way of the Cross, our meditations on the last days of Jesus before he went to the cross of Calvary to die for you and I. While we're studying this, we're studying them so that we can draw inferences and learn the things that make for our lives. We need information, we need instructions, we need to know how to go even in these our times. And so today we're going to look at one of the characters that was very present in the time of Jesus, and that character is Pontius Pilate and his quest for power. I did say that in any drama production, there are many contributors. Some are visible on the stage, others remain backstage. In other words, in every set, there are all kinds of people. The ones who are actually acting and the ones that are there to enhance all the production. So you have the makeup artist, the film director, the producer. There are all kinds of people. The characters that you see in any production, they would come in categories. Who is the lead character? What are these? What are the lessons that are being taught? Who are the heroes and who are the villains? And all the casting of those characters would ensure that the message is properly delivered. Now, in the drama of Jesus' trial and eventual execution, what we see is a list of infamous characters that no one will want to name their children after. For instance, no one wants to call their child Judas. No one wants to call their child Annas. No one wants to say that they are related to Caiaphas, to Herod, to Pilate. What we will do today, though, is to call them the bad guys in the Jesus' drama. The bad guys. All of these human beings are coming from different walks of life and, of course, with different motives of life. Their act in the whole thing was informed by whatever was driving them at that point. Pilate's driving force was the quest for power. So their vices would range from greed to ambition to abuse of power to cruelty to wickedness, and by so doing, these people wrote their names in the annals of history. So we're reading about Pilate now, not for a good deed, but for the fact that he was the one who condemned Jesus to death. Why? Because he needed to secure his seat with the Roman government. We're reading about Judas now, not because we want to be like him, but we want to know how the heart of the bad guys work. But even though all of these people had their places, there is a director, there's the producer. Those ones already know the end. They know where they want to go with the story. God had determined from the beginning of creation, when Adam and Eve fell, that the man needed redemption. And if you go through Genesis all the way to the New Testament, you see all the efforts to look for a suitable replacement, a suitable atonement for man's sins. None came until Jesus offered to come and die for our sins. And so God, yes, is in charge, sovereign. Let's call him director of these productions. The villains, you can argue that they only performed as ordered by their directors, and all we see as the viewing public is how they are acting. So somebody said that did it have to be Judas? The truth? No, it didn't have to be Judas, but Judas had the tendencies that the devil could use for those things. More like when you cast someone in a drama production, you already know the person's tendencies. You see how they are leanings. You see, oh no, this person will act properly like this. Like for instance, if you were going to cast me in your production set, I'm not extroverted, so putting me in an extroverted role, I will struggle. I will do it, but I will struggle. So Judas had the propensity to be the one to betray Jesus. He had it in him. He was a greedy person. He himself was a thief. He probably was very ambitious. So it was easy for the devil to find use for him as per when they were trying to cast somebody who would betray Jesus. In the physical, we find that Jesus' time was there. It didn't have to be Judas, I said. It didn't have to be all these people that lent themselves. They were useful because they had the tendencies. The Sanhedrin, all of them had one purpose. They needed to get rid of the man Jesus. The only problem was they didn't want the mob action. Have you ever seen such hypocrisy? I mean, different governments in our world today show you that they present a face and then themselves are evil or not so straightforward in their outlook. Jesus was well liked by the people. The Sanhedrin didn't like him at all. Why? Because he showed them up. This was someone who was effortlessly, making life easy for people. And these people, all they spent their time doing was making it more difficult for people. So obviously, anybody that comes along and makes it easy for the people will not be liked because maybe he was taking their business. So they needed someone to identify Jesus. Judas played that part. Judas Iscariot was a treasurer, he was the friend of the master. He worked closely enough. Hey, beware of the people who are that close. Just watch their attributes, watch their comments, watch how they react when you put some things. Say something as simple as when you get promoted, watch their reaction. See if they're excited for you, or see the comments they make when you talk about things going well for you. Judas negotiates the price of Jesus for a measly 30 pieces of silver, the price you will buy a slave for. So the man who has been your benefactor for the last 3.5 years, what you think is worth is just 30 pieces of silver. Now Pontius Pilate, on the other hand, was a self-serving coward, acting tough. He was the 5th Roman governor of Judea. His appointment was by Emperor Tiberius, and he ruled for 10 years. Emperor Pilate needed to belong. So he had to please the people who put him there. And to get that done, he didn't mind convicting an innocent man so that he would be friends with headquarters. I mean, what kind of ambition would drive you to that point where your wife had even sent word to you to say, look, don't touch that man is innocent. But he was so blinded by ambition, he was so blinded by the quest for power, that even his wise voice meant nothing to him at that time. Pilate knew the drill, but he was so hungry for acceptance. He got the warning, he got the checks, he saw the red flags. Himself said, look, this guy is not innocent. He's not guilty, I beg your pardon. But power, whatever he was chasing, would not let him see road. Judas takes the Roman soldiers to where Jesus and his disciples were for the night, and he had agreed with the council elders that Judas will point the master out with a kiss. Why did he need a kiss though? Because there was no way of distinguishing who was who. Jesus was that simple. You that is boss, can we tell the difference between you and them? One of the reasons that I didn't want certain cycles in life was that I did not like the fact that it was so easy to point out who the boss was. Case in point, like a band, the band leader and his boys. I didn't like that. Now back to Jesus' story. Judas points him out in the garden. They arrest Jesus, takes him out in the middle of the night for a mock trial through Annas, Caiaphas, Herod, and finally by the wee hours of the morning, they took him to the courts of Pilate. All of this kangaroo court kind of thing was so that they would be quickly done with what they had to do before it was Passover. Do you see the hypocrisy? The people who are supposed to uphold the law are the ones blatantly breaking the law. Such impunity. Everything had to be hurried. Never mind, they were breaking the rules. They swear this is what they do. They are lawmakers. They are supposed to uphold the law, and yet they are the ones breaking the law. Does that sound familiar? I guess it's everywhere. At least it's this there in my own country. They make the laws. It's the lawmakers who break the laws, and they break it so blatantly. Like they think that the rest of us, our brains are suspended. Or the way I like to put it, I say that maybe their marabout or their medicine man told them that don't worry, I've suspended their brain. Because how else would you carry on with such impunity if you thought that the people who voted you into power had powers to remove you? They take Jesus to Pilate so that Pilate can sentence him. Because themselves, their own courts, they don't have power. Only the Roman government can order somebody's execution. They didn't have power to do that. Now, what they wanted was to totally get rid of Jesus so that he will stop spoiling business for them. John 18:28-32 says, and this was them after they had taken Jesus before Pilate. Bible says that then the Jewish leaders took Jesus from Caiaphas to the palace of the Roman governor. But by now it was early morning, and to avoid ceremonial uncleanness, they did not enter the palace. Such hypocrisy. But because they wanted to be able to eat the Passover. So Pilate came out to them and asked, what charges are you bringing against this man? If he were not a criminal, they replied, we would not have handed him over to you. Pilate said, take him yourselves and judge him by your own law. But we have no right to execute anyone. They objected. This took place to fulfill what Jesus had said about the kind of death he was going to die. Have you ever seen? They are the ones who are supposed to hold the law. They are fasting, no? They are fasting. They are imams. They are fast. They are heads of the temple. And yet, they're as evil as they come. I once knew a man who took communion on a daily basis, and yet he had girlfriends at every bus stop. He knew the Bible. He could teach the Bible. The only thing is that the spirit of the Bible was not inside him. He knew the letter, but he did not know the spirit. Do we have hypocrites around us today still? Oh yes, they're everywhere. They're in the temples, they're in the courts, they're in our classes, they're everywhere. They would accuse another person of what themselves are thoroughly guilty of. These people went with Jesus to the praetorium. They will not go in because they want to eat Passover meal. Now they are going to remember the Exodus, and yet they were ordering the death of an innocent man. How? We do that still today, and the reason we're studying this is so that we can put a stop to it. It's not right. It's not right. We're still doing it today. Now, Jesus before Pilate quizzes him. Even the way he was asking the question, do you not know that I am the governor and I have power? Jesus said, you don't get power. The power you have is given to you. You are just thinking you have power. So let me say to everyone who is sitting in seats of power now, you are not the one. Whatever you have is given. Jesus replied Pilate in John 19:11, you would have no power over me if it were not given to you from above. So it's the one who handed me to you that is guilty of a greater sin. Pilate sent Jesus to Herod just to pass the buck. Have you ever been? I said, may they not leave you. Leave your faith in the hands of men, because they will be passing you from one table to the other just so to fulfill their own desires. Pilate sends Jesus to Herod. Herod, seeing that there's no case to answer, sends him back to Pilate. Is it not interesting that people who on a normal day don't agree with themselves would agree, because now you are their common enemy? May they not leave your life in the hands of your enemy. Pilate needed to please and to appear to be in charge, and he had no qualms about exchanging Jesus for a notorious criminal? What kind of a heart knows that somebody is innocent and yet, because of his quest for power, will sacrifice that person for a notorious criminal? Pilots, they existed those days, they still exist today. Why are we studying these characters? So that we know who we are not supposed to be, so that we are able to recognize them when they show up in our systems. How is it that letting an innocent man take a fall for a notorious terrorist, how does that seem okay for someone who has a conscience? Jesus did not defend himself because he knew that it was the hour of darkness. And in the hour of darkness, all kinds of things happen. There's a local balance that says that the day of the death of the elephant, you will see all kinds of knives. That's what is happening here now. Jesus said, it's not your fault, it's the time, it's your time. God gave it to you, so enjoy it while it's lasts. So just because you have all the powers that you think you have, my friend, you better behave yourself, because whatever powers that you have was given to you by God. And mind how you use those powers. In this story, what do we learn? We learn how that the innocent can suffer the fate of the guilty. We learn that God is in charge. We learn that people's lusts and desires can make them do things that are untoward. We learn who we are not to be. We learn that we should constantly search our hearts so that we do not become the Judas, the Caiaphas, the Pilates of this world. We learn that no position is permanent. We learn that sacrificing other human beings, throwing people under the bus, is not the way to live. The end of Judas was that he committed suicide. Let me tell you something, just by doing things like that, none of them was happy at the end of the day. Judas knew that what he had done to an innocent man was thoroughly uncalled for. He should not have done that. I'm saying that to you today so that even as we go through life, don't be the one that would make an innocent person suffer unjustly. Don't lend your voice with that of evildoers. As we go about today, I want you to think about it. The Bible says in a big man's house, there are many vessels. Each vessel must prepare himself. Will you be a vessel unto honor, or will you be a vessel unto dishonor? The choice is yours. Be sure to choose right. Do have a wonderful day. We will do this again tomorrow. Bye-bye.